all the implications and how it connects to the rest of the river plan, etc. No. Should have said council allocates. That's just lifting Paula's it was meant to lift Paula's motion and put it in for consideration in 1 year's time. So,
and Stephen had an update you wanted to give on financial implications.
Hang on, just before we do, can I get Angela to just explain anything you want to about your one, and then Dave, I'll get you to on the amendment. Just you don't have to say anything if you. Paul, sorry.
But yeah.
So who's got the motion up? Okay, Paula, do you want to explain if you feel it needs explanation? Or are you happy that it's self-explanatory?
It's self-explanatory there.
Dave?
I had a conversation with Angela.
Dave, what's the difference between the two?
So can we flick up? It should say year 2 rather than year 1, 2, obviously, because that will be gone by that. Yeah, thank you. And year 3 below. Just 1 year added to each. Okay, so the difference is mine is to say don't put it in year 1 of the LTP, but consider it for year 2 of the LTP via the annual plan discussions. Once we've received a staff report on all the information needed for it.
And the motion, hang on, Gary, just to get this clear. So yours is a consideration at the next annual plan. Paula's is a lock-in now.
Correct.
If we go ahead.
Is my understanding.
Yeah. Okay, Gary.
Dave's trying to don't take this wrong way, sort of quite smooth on this, but wouldn't you just do an amendment to the long-term plan rather than what he's doing for the annual plan?
No, because I'm not saying it definitely should go ahead. That motion doesn't say it definitely should go ahead. It just says we need more information before we can decide, and therefore defer the consideration.
Doesn't sort of seem.
So you want to get Stephen?
Okay, Stephen, can you show us the effects of what the motion will have, please? The financial effects.
So the big impact is $3 million of debt in 2021 on the motion, and it's one of these last straw things. Eventually something's going to tip us over. It doesn't tip us over if we fund everything proposed in year 1. What rate increase is that? Is that 15 or 16? 15.5. So 15.5. We don't quite balance the books, so it need to be a little bit higher than that to balance the books. But it doesn't tip us over the debt to revenue ratio. But I know some councillors are thinking about ratios that might be 866. And if we throw in 866, it tips us over on that 2021. The timing of 2021 is quite important because 2021 is a tipping point for us. And so there comes a point when our rate increase is to fund the capital program. For most of our debate, the rate increase has been about funding the balancing the books. But if you go with this 866 thing that we've played around with a bit since the start of the meeting, this becomes a tipping point. But you could say another decision earlier on was a tipping point. So it just happens to be the last one.
So, question. With the amendment, there's no financial allocation as such. It's a matter of sit again in a year's time on the AP. With the motion, you're saying that adds to that pushes the debt to revenue ratio closer to the magic 230.
That's right.
Well, I don't think it's particularly magic. It's close to the ominous 230.
The ominous 230, yeah. And in a year's time, we push the 3 million actually out another year to 2022.
Yeah.
And based on our numbers.
So when we do the big wrap-up debate around how do we go from A to B, and obviously you've got the one chunk, 15.5, 60%, you know, boom. You've got the 9 plus 6 or whatever as an alternative. You're saying those who want to explore a 9 plus 6, for example, that discussion is severely compromised by that.
I wouldn't say severely compromised, but the numbers that we looked at the start of the meeting have changed during the course. When we look at our debt figure, scroll down, you know, you'll see we've got higher debt, and we've made some decisions that reduced some revenue. So that higher debt, wherever it come from, has got to the point where some numbers we talked about at the start of the meeting process are now going up. And whether you consider this to be the tipping point or another decision that we made over the course of the last 3 days.
Yeah, sure, of course, yeah.
So, councillor Paula, do you still want to leave your motion up?
Does it mean that the project, if I withdraw my motion, does it give us a fair chance of getting that work in with adjustments, or is it very unlikely?
I could be smart and get you to put that to Chris Allen and see how his CapEx program goes, but I wouldn't do that. That would be disrespectful of one of my colleagues. But I will answer say that there's always an opportunity for council to review where it's at, and then if we have deferred capital, or we decide not to do something for whatever reason, and that happens within council, then that's when council can consider this during the annual plan, and obviously then you'll know where you're at that stage. Just bearing in mind, as I said before, that we still, you know, have a program going this financial year for the next 7 months, and we still need to deliver on that. So it's not like we wouldn't be doing anything in the River Plan precinct, and obviously we've got the Central City Park, which is going up for public consultation, which is quite a significant project too. So I think if you look at that through that lens, then we would still be very active in the River Plan space, and you would have the flexibility to review this a year out from now during the annual plan and could see whether we could afford it.
Okay, Paula,
Okay. No, just one more question, just one. Active in the River Plan space, great, get that. Active in the museum space, no, not at all. No love to the museum, yeah?
Well, that's correct, but Cherie would still carry on doing what she's doing down there, and
I know.
they do a
I'm
good job,
just
so.
making sure that it's transparent, that there would be no. Look, this stuff's going to go out to test, and if people feel strongly that we should, you know, when we do get submissions, we'll talk again. I'm happy to remove my motion and go with the amendment. Pardon?
The amendment, if you're not doing it.
What?
I mean, there's no need for the amendment.
No, it is, because it's actually tagging.
Or,
As a motion, it's giving instruction to
well, hang
our
on,
AP
if
process.
the amendment's either go,
Okay, well then I'll leave the
I-
motion and test it. Thank you.
Okay, test.
okay, so we're going to, Paula, you're speaking first.
First, thank you, Mayor Andrew. Look, this wasn't as complicated as it seems. It was a genuine attempt to bring to the table a synergistic project that linked up some of the preferred pieces of the River Plan from the River Plan Task Force perspective, and the museum. We'd had a number of talks about Excite and the possibility of energising that some more, and the back of the museum. Remember, councillors, that the back of the museum at the moment is nothing but a glorified parking lot and truck entrance, which seems perverse to me when you've got this wonderful asset that is the river and this wonderful asset that is the museum, that, you know, the back side of the museum faces towards the river. And that has to change at some point, in my view. When and how we afford that, that's a question for debate, I guess. But I wanted to just raise a flag to people that I think opening the back of the museum and having people being able to cycle along from the gardens, as we did with Sarah Ulmer that day, and park your bike in a properly designed park, a bike park there by Gothenburg, go in and have a fruit beer or otherwise go through the museum. All of that seemed to me connecting the dots. And I was just looking for a win-win in this space, a win for the museum, a win for the river plan, and a win for improving community assets. So, yeah, I'll test it and I'll be fairly relaxed about the outcome, but I'm going to obviously vote against the amendment and go for the motion.
Thanks. Look, unfortunately, the motion was a last-minute extra on top of all the CBD spending we've already approved in that area, on that vicinity. It's not designed, the amendment isn't designed to stop or oppose further development in the area, but it's to get a considerable amount extra of information about what exactly is being proposed for your $3.3 million, how it would affect link in with the rest of the river plan that's already happened or going to happen, where the Donny Trust money should go. A whole lot of balls up in the air still in that area. We need some more information before we decide anything. It would be nuts to put it in the budget now. It'd be just like saying 3.3 million and we'll decide what it's for later on. And I've been hearing councillors all day today, all afternoon today, and for the last few days saying they didn't want that. So it would be quite perverse to actually vote to put it in there without that sort of background. So I'm suggesting to give it a chance, that it be looked at with a staff report to kick that off next year and be given a chance to get in from the second year onwards.
Again, I'll go on about it. We're facing a rate increase here. I think some councillors are being a little bit. Well, I think we're all being a little bit irresponsible here by voting every single thing and look at getting everything in. Some people are suffering from tunnel vision and being blinded by all sorts of stuff. Look, we've just voted down before one of Councillor Dave's proposals for $2 million for social housing. And now we're looking at putting something in that's worth 3.3 million into the proposals. If that goes ahead, we've put around about 20 million into the river plan extension, 3.9 million into Garden Place upgrade, and now and then 3.3 million into this. That's over $25 million worth in a 300 metre radius of this building. We seem to have some sort of predisposition to putting almost half of our budget, half of the 80 million budget, into a very small part of the city. I don't know what's going on here, but I can't vote for the amendment or the motion because I think it's irresponsible.
Deputy Mayor Martin.
The amendment does not commit you to any money at all. All the amendment does is say in a year's time, once we know how the theatre and the Victoria on the River, the Central City Park / river plan looks like, and how much that has cost, plus, as Lance said, if there are any other opportunities, we then can progress this. So moving the amendment purely keeps this on the table, gives hopefully the River Plan Task Force some more work to do with our staff. This is the next step. I'm acutely conscious that if we achieve the Mayor's vision for the River Plan / Central City transformation, that will be the most dramatic contribution to the River Plan we have probably seen to date. This again is a 20 to 30 year project, as the River Plan under Julie Hardacre, Mayor Evans said. We know this is a long journey. It's not going to happen overnight. I would love to vote for Paula's motion. Right now, I cannot, because frankly, the previous river plan motion that you, by majority, approved is going to potentially, with the right design, the right recognition of heritage issues and all of that, the right design for the theatre will be the most dramatic change that Central Hamilton has seen historically, in my view. So all this motion does, it keeps alive the next bit, if you like, of the river plan. Bearing in mind through an O&M there's going to be improvements, signage, Hamilton Gardens, all that. So I urge you to vote for the amendment. You're not voting for any financial allocation, but you are voting for the staff to focus on the way in which we might, in a year's time or 2 years' time, start to bring this about, address the Donny money and all those other opportunities. Can I just finally say, the river plan under the Julie Hardacre leadership was not all about the council spending the complete rates. It was a partnership. It was going to be the combo of rates, the kind of wonderful philanthropic gift of the Donny Trust, the private sector. This was various components. So I think we now have a direction that builds on Julie Hardacre's leadership and Mayor Andrews' leadership, and I would urge you to pass this amendment. No funding commitment at this point, but at least it means that once the other bits are finished, we then revisit this bit. And this is quite an important bit as well.
Councillor Jeff.
Thanks, Mayor Andrew. I'll be supporting the amendment. Paula's motion has some merit. Unfortunately for Paula, that it's been superseded to a degree or reprioritised by the Central City Park, which I think is first cab off the rank. The amendment means that it will come back to the annual plan discussions, at which point a decision can be made. So I'll support the amendment.
Right, a reply, Paula?
No need, thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the board to vote. So firstly, we're voting on the amendments. So I'll use my casting vote to go with the amendment. Now we go, the amendment...
Sorry, I'd love to see who's voting for.
So the amendment becomes a substantive motion. We're now voting on the motion.
The amendment as a substantive motion is declared equal.
Can we see the vote, please? Love seeing the vote.
I will use my casting vote, but we would like to see the final outcome as well.
It's not a secret ballot.
No, it's a technology thing.
You have to say.
So I will use my vote to put that through, yeah.
The amendment as a substantive motion is declared carried on the casting vote of the chair.
Thank you. Okay, well now, is the food here? Okay, we'll stop for dinner now. We'll be back at 5:45. We've now actually wrapped up and finished this section of the process. So from here we are going to I'll let staff actually explain this before we stop for dinner.
So the remaining resolutions are around rates and the overall financial strategy, so that'll be after dinner. Will be the rates conversation essentially, and then it's the other recommendations in the report around the consultation document and those aspects.
A discussion that Dave had with you yesterday about having a look at stuff again. Is that on the card for tonight?
I asked staff to look at that overnight, so is that answer for democracy, or is that is it a ruling of democracy, or is that for Sean to explain?
Can I suggest that we,
Democracy is looking more quick, so we'll go back to you, Sean.
can I suggest that we discuss that when we come back?
No, I'd rather we discuss now before we break, please, so that people know when they come back from dinner where we're at. Or do you specifically have a reason why you want to hold it back till after dinner?
I think there's a bit of context to give, and so I
Okay.
think it would be useful to do that after, when we come back.
Okay, so we'll be back at 6:45.
Good night,
Thank you.
Angela.